What's up, everybody? How are we all doing? I got sweet underlighting right here, which is just great, and proper mini painting streaming technology. It's exactly what you're supposed to do when you light yourself when you paint mini, so you look dope when you're doing it. I know Daigle and that Sass Queen be here. If anyone else is here, please let me know. Hi, everybody. So we're going to be painting today. Hey, what's up, Vigi? Vigi and Sass Queen here. Visher, happy birthday, by the way, you beautiful man. I heard it was your birthday a couple days ago. Oops, sorry about hitting that. So one thing I'm actually very, very happy about is I figured I struggle in my painting area to find a good way to set up the camera. It's very difficult. It's very much gets in my way, and it makes me, it's just annoys me when I'm painting on stream, and it frankly makes me a worse painter because I have to like try and paint in awkward ways. And so I finally figured out a way to make it at least a little bit better where the camera's not really in my way, and it actually gives a way better viewing for you all. Because also I usually have it from this angle because this is where I have the most room on my table, but that means like my right hand is just blocking everything the entire time. And if I have it from this way, where I also have room, I'm usually painting over here, and so you can't see anything. So I have it from this angle here, and so hopefully we'll be able to see a little bit better. I may hit it from time to time, and I'm just going to already apologize for that. That was yesterday. Dude, finally turned 26. Good for you, Visher. Dude, you're so awesome. Well, I hope you and Daigle and Sass Queen and the other people who are here are having a wonderful day. Thank you for whoever gave the thumbs up already. I appreciate you. Alrighty, so today what we're going to be working on for the people who are already here is we are working on Lord Celestant and his Dracoth is what these weird dog dragon things are. They're called, and then Lord Celestant is only half a man at this point because I have not built the rest of him, because to paint, he's going to eventually have this cloak on, this big swoopy swirly cloak. The problem is to paint back here and to paint back here is going to be basically impossible once the cloak is on. And for the most part, I wouldn't really care, but I'm really trying to like take my time with this dude. So eventually I will paint this on, and this will be like this, but you can see, hopefully, in here is going to be basically impossible for me to paint without getting paint everywhere, and the inside of these cloaks are supposed to be white, so it's not even like I can just like do it and then cover it up with something else. So this guy eventually will look like this, and with a head as well, preferably, and a right arm. But I'm going to paint the back of this and then paint the inside of this first, then glue it on, and then I will then highlight it, because at that point all I need to do is highlight the stuff that actually will catch light, like this. Like, I don't need to highlight any stuff in here, but I do need to give it a base coat. So I was like, you know what, let me go ahead and paint basically this whole thing, then I'll go pop this bad boy on, paint it, and then I'll put on his weapon, which is this this big old hammer, because this is like the big main dude of this set. So his hammer will go on like this or something similar to that, and he'll be like da 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 da, and then he'll eventually also have a head. But again, I'm doing that all separately, and none of that will come anywhere near today. This is the last dude. Hi, Quicksand. Oh, what's up, Drake? What's up, Brittany Weaver? What's up, Dave Phillips? Everyone popped in now. So this is the last dude in this big set of Age of Sigmar that I've been painting for Tall David. He is like the general guy. I mean, I guess that's the equivalent. He's like the leader of the whole army. So I've really been like, okay, I'm going to take my time on this dude. I'm going to really try and paint him well. Not that I don't try on the other ones, I do, but I'm really taking my time. So I'm going to tell you right now, I already paint slow. I'm going to paint way slower than I usually do, and I know that's meaning a lot. And you can see on the panels here, like I'm really taking my time and blending everything out and trying to make it good. So I've done this. So what we're going to work on today is we're going to do this panel back here, this one right here, and then this one right here. And that's what I'm hoping to get done. If we get done quick, I'll move on to something else as well. But that's all I'm hoping to get done today. And I know you're like, Nick, that's not very much. I know, I told you I'm going very slow. I've already done this one, and I've already done this one. And as you can see, this one is much, much brighter than this one is. And that's because when you're holding something like this, you're like, oh, this needs to be really bright. But when you actually put it down, this is not catching much light at all. Whereas this one is actually out because his arm's kind of like this. So this is catching more light. And so this one still needs to be highlighted, but it needs to be highlighted to a much lesser degree than this one. And so I've done those. I'm really happy with them so far. Just trying. Oh, what's up, Roy? Dude, you beautiful man. Dude, 3 days, man. I'm excited. I'm very excited. So nonetheless, that's what we're doing. So I have my blues out here. We're going to be painting with Kalendor Sky. This is the blue that I've been painting all of them with. And then we're going to highlight up to Lothern Blue. And I have started working with inks. So these are acrylic inks that you would put in a dip pen. A lot of people paint with inks. There's a lot of really, really cool stuff you can do in mini painting with inks. So I have been starting to get into those. And so I will be darkening and lightening these with inks as opposed to water. As opposed to like white or black paint. And there's a couple different reasons of why that I'll get into a little bit later. But first thing I have to do is I have to get my palette ready, because I ran out of time to do it beforehand. I was going to have my whole palette set up so we could just start painting, but that didn't happen. So, deal with it, people. Hi, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Parchment paper. I hope everyone's having a good weekend. And if you don't know what Roy, Mr. Epic Gaming Night there, is talking about, we are, Mike and I are going out to Florida Sunday for the Dice Tower Marathon, which will be very fun. So right now what I'm doing is just cutting out some parchment paper to put on my palette. I'm doing it very crudely and very terribly because, you know, Nick Murphy. Melissa McCack, what is going up, Starbuck? How you doing? I get to see a miniature painting stream. Well, I'm glad. I'm pumped. That'll probably be enough. I actually I wish I had done it a little bit bigger, but that's fine. What takes longer, painting this from start to finish, or TI4 on Tabletopia? Maybe TI4 on Tabletopia. I honestly don't know. I wish I'd made this a little bigger, but that's okay. So, I'm going to put this down on here. Now, we use non-wax parchment paper for our wet palette, and what that does is this parchment paper will soak up some of the water, and it'll keep our paints wet. But when you put it down, it's going to start curling. So what I'll do is I put it down on one side, put it down on the other side, and then I take an old expired card and I try and flatten it out so I have a decently flat palette. Doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't even have to be particularly good, but I do want it to be decently flat. Did your palette come with paper that actually fits in it? No, my palette didn't come with paper at all. You can get palette paper, but to me, it's like just use parchment paper. You can get a giant roll for like $2, and like it's just very easy to use. And so, so yeah, that's what I would do. Honestly, that's what I did. And so mine, like you can get, if you get like a GW wet palette, or actually, I think GW, they might have a wet palette at this point, but they didn't used to. You can get like wet palette paper, and I just don't see any need for it. It's just like you're getting something that you can get for that's way cheaper somewhere else. So it's like, I don't know, but I really like this wet palette a lot. It's only like $15 at Amazon. It was really, really well priced. So I'm gonna essentially make a bunch of different colors on the palette. We're gonna thin it down with some water. So now I paint, especially with the method of painting that I'm using to do this guy, and especially these panels, is I need really thin paint, because I'm not necessarily, I mean, I guess you can kind of call it wet blending is what I'm going to be doing, but it doesn't really feel like wet blending. Okay, so when it comes to like washing out my brushes and stuff, this camera is now getting in my way. Oh, that's right. I forgot to put on music. Sorry, everybody. I'm going to put on some music. I found the music station that we use for our YouTube channel. That's what we always listen to whenever I'm streaming, and I really like lo-fi, like hip-hop music when I'm working on art. And they have a new album called Lo-Fi Christmas Beats, so you better believe we're going to listen to some lo-fi Christmas music today. So, let me see. And please let me know if you want this louder or quieter. It's probably not that loud right now. But let me know if it is too loud or too quiet or whatever it is you want. Okay, so I have Lowthorn Blue. So this will be kind of like, I don't know, like my mid light tone. These panels will both, I'm also trying to go for a really high level of contrast. I think the biggest issue people have with minis and what makes, or rather what can make their mini Christmas Day. What could make their mini look significantly better is if they, you need more contrast. That is the number one thing I will tell people. If they ask me, like, what could make my mini look better? Contrast. You need more contrast. Something being, like, relatively monotoned is not good. So I'm now making a kind of intermediate between these two right here. And so I am going for like really intense contrast in this one to the point where it pretty much doesn't even make sense. And you can see like on this panel here, I'm going down almost all the way to black and then highlighting up to like relatively light blue. And of course on the top here is very light blue because that's the part that's catching the sun. And you can see on the panels down here as well, I'm going almost all the way to black on these shadowed parts and then up to like relatively light blue. I'm essentially trying to have a lot of contrast. Because it's something that I know in my own stuff I need to work on, and so I'm kind of taking it to an extreme in this one. So now I'm pulling out some ink. Now the reason why I like to use ink is because it does two things. It waters down the paint while not diluting the pigments nearly as much, and then it just makes it makes paint like paints more smoothly, I guess is the best way to put it. I like this one. How loud is that? Is that too loud? Too loud. I probably won't use this blue, but I'm gonna pull a little bit out just in case. Yes, I can. Of course, David Phillips. Real quick. Quicksand. So the one I picked up after last stream, it came with paper that had to be soaked for 15 minutes in hot water, and it was less than 15, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's, that seems unnecessary. This one, I don't need to do any of that. I think that sounds pretty unnecessary. But what palettes are dope, as Roy said. But yes, David Phillips. So the cliff notes on wet palettes and why we use them, as you can see down here, there is a sponge, and this sponge is wet. It's very, very wet. It's an oversaturated sponge. And then we put parchment paper on top, and then the reason we do this is because this parchment paper will soak up some of the water. Not a ton of the water. It's not like a sponge, but it'll soak up some of the water. And what that will do is it'll keep that little bit of water will constantly be going into our paint. Just a little bit. Here and there, just a little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit. And, ooh, that's too dark. And what that'll do is it's going to constantly keep our paint wet. If you watch some of my earlier streams, one of the biggest pains is that I constantly had to bring out more paint. You end up wasting a lot of paint just because your paint is drying. And that's not great. And so having a wet palette means it keeps your paint wet for like literally days. It'll keep your paint wet for days and days because my wet palette has a lid on it. And then I can just use that lid, put over it, and I can come back tomorrow and keep using the same paint. And it's awesome. It's really, really awesome. And on top of that, it just keeps your paint moist, it keeps it wet, and it keeps it flowing well so you can continue to work. And especially if you're doing something like the technique you're going to see me doing today, it is incredibly useful because I'm basically going to be constantly blending between all these colors you're seeing on my palette here. So you can see I have like my normal mid-tone blue, lighter blue, darker blue, all the way down basically to black. And I'm going to start going lighter over here, and I need to work quickly. I'm going to need to constantly be, because acrylic paints dry very quickly, I'm going to have to constantly be grabbing new paint and moving and boogieing. And if I had to constantly reapply paint to my palette because it's drying out constantly, one, it's going to waste my time, and two, it'll make it so that my blends won't be very good. They'll end up looking kind of crappy because of the fact that my paint is drying out, and dry paint doesn't blend very well. And so, that might have been too light. And so that's why. So that's what it does. It constantly brings paint. Sorry, I'm trying to talk and do this at the same time, and I feel like I'm not doing a very good job. But nonetheless, it keeps your paint wet for a long time. And it makes it so your paint just flows better, just works better, and you'll see it kind of in action here. You'll see me constantly going back to the palette, grabbing other colors, trying to blend, and getting these kind of really smooth blends. You need your paint to be wet the whole time, especially if you're doing it with a brush instead of doing it with like an airbrush. You have to. It's a huge pain if you don't. And I'll kind of be showing how I'm doing this kind of blending. So what I'm doing now is I'm wetting my paper towel because I will need to, like I keep saying, I need to move quickly for what I'm doing, how I'm painting these panels. And so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to have a color on my brush. I'm going to apply it to the model, and I'm going to quickly go over here and wipe off my brush. I'm going to wipe off most of the paint. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the edge of the color I just put on, and I'm going to feather it out. I'm just going to go, feather. And just feather it out like that. And yes, Starbuck, it is parchment paper on a sponge, ultimately. And so I'm constantly going to be getting the paint essentially out of my brush so that I can blend it out. The Riot said, dude, I know you were an artiste, but wow, you know, good stuff, good work. Thank you, I appreciate that. Sorry, I'm catching up on everything. Almost a board gamer. You are a board gamer. I'm saying it. Never heard of this before. Thanks for sharing. You got it. All right, so dumb question. It even keeps the top wet. It doesn't start to skin up. Not really. You may have to like agitate it a little bit to get it so that it doesn't skin up, but not really. This kind of paint doesn't do that very much. And especially for how much I'm thinning it down, my paint is very, very thin. I mean, it's damn near like water. And I'm doing that when you have really thin paint like that. It does a couple different things. One, it makes you have to apply lots of different coats, many coats, which is a huge pain in the ass. But it means your paint's going to look a lot smoother. And that's kind of what we want. So I'm going to start on this panel up here. So you're going to kind of see what I'm talking about here. And I'm... So, So these parts right here are going to be the lightest. This right here, and then it's going to get darker as it goes down. Like you can see this one right here. It's very light on top, and it gets very dark going down. And again, I'm pushing that contrast to a point where it doesn't really make sense, to be completely honest. But I'm doing it that way because it's something that I want to practice. So I'm going to take my kind of mid-tone blue, and I'm going to put it into that darker blue. And I always leave this bit of my wet palette open so that I can wipe off the rest of the paint in here. Because it's a sponge, I can just get the paint out pretty easily. And then it keeps my brush wet as well, which is very, very important. Oh, this is Terrio. Oh, Mikey, what's up, man? How you doing, brother? I didn't know that was you. I love to know what music I'm hearing. It's this site that Mike and I pay for so we can use music on our YouTube channel, and they have albums, and this album is called Lo-Fi Christmas Beats, and I'm pretty into it. So that's what we're listening to right now. All right, so this top one is going to be. So these top parts are a little pretty easy. It's the panel here is where we're going to have more, much more contrast and much more problems blending. And this panel up here is an awkward spot for me to hold. I'm having to like brace my my pinky down here against my other hand because my hands shake quite a bit, and so I constantly have to brace my hands against something. Either I brace it against this or brace it against my other hand, because if I don't, my hands shake and it makes it very difficult for me to paint very precise areas. So this is kind of a hard panel, despite the fact that the coloration of this panel is pretty simple. Because Nick's got some tremors, but not like the tremors from the awesome movie Tremors. So you can see I'm taking this light one, I'm taking this dark one here, and I'm going down here, because down here we're going to have it be, it's going to be darker. And so I'm going and blending the two a little bit. Okay. What's up, B? Whoop! I've always been scared, but you may change my mind with all these crazy techniques I've never seen before. And here's the thing, you don't even need to do this. You can do. I'm doing these because I'm trying to do some stuff I've never done before. But you don't even need to do this. You can. It's basic painting is so accessible, man. So accessible. I just want to go a little lighter. I'm going to have this part of the panel here be very, very light. I'm going to grab a different mid-tone here and kind of work it in there. Wonder and light. I have no idea what this is, and I love it. Ugh. This panel's in such an awkward spot for my hands. So I'm grabbing this darker blue. I'm going to have this part down here go pretty darn dark, because again, I'm trying to push this contrast more so than it really should be. But I'm a rebel like that, so it doesn't really matter to me. So you can see I'm constantly wiping the brush, and I'm constantly grabbing other colors. I'm trying to do this whole thing basically while it's wet. Once I want it to dry and see kind of how we're getting, that's when I'll move on to a different spot. But right now I'm kind of trying to, and I don't really plan stuff when I paint like this. Like, I'm not consciously being like, ooh, I'm gonna go grab this shade of blue and then do this. Ooh, I'm gonna go grab this shade of blue and then do this. I just kind of go, I need something kind of in the middle, and I go grab something kind of in the middle. That's what I do. I'm not good at this. So we're going to go even darker down here. So let's grab our kind of base blue and then work up. And so that spot where I ended the dark blue, I'm taking that mid-tone blue and kind of mixing them together on the model and trying to feather it out so that it blends. And that's why I'm constantly wiping my brush, because I am trying to get the paint that's on the brush off it so I can actually blend it. Because if I try to blend it with these colors still on it, all I'm doing is putting down more color. And that's kind of defeats the purpose of it. So, Tremors, you okay? Oh yeah, man, my hands have always or shook rather. English Nick, first time we're speaking it. Yeah, my hands always shake. They always have. My mom was super worried about when I was a kid, though. She literally took me to the doctor one time to get them to check it out, and the doctor hardcore thought I was doing drugs, and that's why my hands shook. And I was like, no, dude, I don't drink, I don't smoke. And he super didn't believe me. And I was like, no, dude, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. And he was like, look, dude, I can't tell your mother. You and me have doctor-patient confidentiality. I legally can't tell your mother. You can tell me what drugs you're doing. And I was like, I started getting super pissed off at him. Because I was like, I was telling him the truth. And I understand that most people are lying to him usually when they do that kind of stuff. But I was like, dude, I'm not trying to get one over on you. I don't actually, I don't do drugs. I don't drink, dude. I know I'm the only teenager here who doesn't, but I don't. And, oh man, that dude pissed me off. I was like, I get it, man. So now, hopefully you can see, I really hope that I have been painting on camera the entire time. Okay, so now you can kind of see this blend that I've got going on here from light down to dark. It's not perfect. I'm going to keep working it, but I'm going to let this dry and kind of let it sit for a bit. So you can see that blend that I've got going down this panel side from very light to very dark. And then we have the light panel. This panel here won't change too much because this is more or less facing straight up. I'm going to have it be a little lighter here and a little darker down here, but it's not going to be as drastic as this one. And again, this one's probably a little more drastic than it needs to be. But again, I'm just trying to push that contrast to a, frankly, kind of silly level. And again, if anyone has any questions about this kind of stuff, please let me know. Always Board Gamer asks, do you find your paint dry unexpectedly dark when it's watered down? It depends. Not more so than if it wasn't watered down. The main thing, at least, that I've had to learn, at least about the paints that I have, is I have to know which paints dry darker than they are when they're not dry. So these blues all dry darker than they are when they're light, but some don't. My yellows don't, my greens don't, most of my browns don't. But at least for me, if you're using Citadel paints, reds dry way darker than they do on when they're wet. They're super, super dark. And so when you're putting it red on a model, it looks like blaringly red. And it freaks me out because I'm like, oh God, I got to darken it down. And so I darken it down. And then when it dries even darker. And then I'm like, oh wait, no, I didn't do anything. It's just the same color at this point. So you have to, especially with reds, you just have to kind of take a leap of faith and just paint and know that it's going to be darker than it is. Because most of these guys are called Dracoths, by the way. Most of these, my Dracoth here that I decided to paint is red. And so these parts here that are all very bright red, and I wet blended its entire tail, so it goes from very light red all the way down into essentially black. And I got to redo some of it because I've been touching it with my hands like an ass. But man, doing reds on something like this, especially on this face here where it's I'm again trying to push that contrast. Oh man, it was scary as hell because I just kept thinking that I was just making it so light, and it really wasn't. It kept drying. Okay, so that's, that part of the panel for right now. I may come back to it. We'll see how I'm feeling. I'm not taking years on it. I'm not trying to kill myself on this piece because people will spend hundreds of hours on one mini, and I'm just like, nah. But I am trying to be a bit bolder than I usually am. All right, so now we're going to go with basically our brightest part, which is going to be this part right here. And I'm going to essentially blend down to pure Lothern blue, which I know doesn't look that different, but it is. I might actually go down to this one. Oh, what's up, Diz? You ever get crazy with colors? I've always thought it would be rad to paint Blood Rage stuff with like Hawaiian shirts and flip-flops and stuff. I would love to. I do when I'm painting my own stuff. I get a little more ambitious, particularly if there's no real need to be not that way. I tend to paint colorfully ambitious, I suppose. It's a good way of putting it. But these are not my minis. These are David's minis. Tall David, my roommate. And so I am not allowed to, because he has a specific color scheme he wants for these. But if it's my stuff, oh yeah, I find it to be incredibly boring to paint stuff the same way one as everyone else, and then also just like the same way every single time just gets boring to me. I'd rather switch it up. So I usually try to, and that's why there's a lot of like, if you're playing like Warhammer 40k or something like that, I find most armies, a lot of armies in like something like 40k to be really, really boring, because they have to have like specific colors or else they're not like part of that army essentially. Like if you're trying to do like Ultramarines have to be like Ultramarine blue. Like they have to be, or else they're not Ultramarines. And so I'm just like, God, that's boring. You have no choices to like make your people like weird colors and stuff like that, which is why like I don't actively play 40k, but I do collect a bit of it. And what I collect is Tyranids, and one of the main reasons why I always like Tyranids is because they're just aliens from different worlds, and they can be whatever color you want. Like you can make them bright pink. You can make them have like lightning bolts all over their carapaces. You can do whatever you want. And I love that. I find that to be so much more fun than like, oh, salamanders always have to be green. Or to me, the most boring army by far, fight me, is Chaos Space Marines. If you follow 40k at all. Chaos Space Marines are so boring because no matter who does them, they have to be red. So they're all just red. Everything is red. Everything is red. And I find it to be incredibly just boring and bleh. And so, yes, going back to that, I do like to paint stuff with ridiculous colors, especially like, now I will say in regards to Hawaiian shirts in Blood Rage, I do tend to stick to something that makes some semblance of sense. But I do have more fun than most people do. The reason why I think I like mini painting is because it is both reassuringly restrictive and very freeing. And what I mean by that is because you are painting you're essentially painting a 3D coloring book. Because you kind of have to color in the lines. Like, I can't give this guy a Hawaiian shirt. He is very, very, very clearly wearing armor. And so that is very restrictive, but structure is nice. And most people, although we all tell ourselves we don't like it, most people like structure and crave some semblance of structure. And so I like that structured nature of mini painting. You have to paint the lines, like, for the most part. And this is kind of your guideline. This is your outline, and you got to do what you can do in that outline. But I really like how freeing it is, because in the end, in that outline, you can do whatever the hell you want. Like, I could make this dude bright purple if I wanted to. It wouldn't make a difference. Like, I can do whatever the hell I want. So mini painting for me is a a really nice mix of being, oh gosh, of being restrictive in a good way and very, very freeing and open. So when I have something like when I was painting the zombies for the original zombie side, man, I was painting them all sorts of weird colors because I was just like, they're zombies. Like, you can do whatever the heck you want. Or at the very, very least, like, most of them were wearing clothes. So, like, I would make their clothes, like, super bright and super fun and colorful and all this stuff. And I found that to be very fun because of the fact that I could just do whatever the heck I wanted. Like, and that's also one of the reasons why I really like making fun bases for minis, because bases are really freeing. It is just do whatever the hell you want. Like, I could put this guy right here in the snow. I could put him in a desert. I could put him in a jungle. I could put him in space. I can put him on some sci-fi type thing. I could do whatever the hell I wanted. I love that about basing. You gotta have the right color. You're not part of my army. Yeah, pretty much, honestly. It's like that. Like, so many armies, it's like, nope, these armies are specifically this color. And I'm like, oh, that's so boring. Oh my gosh, you can't have any fun. Because if you try to, like, go to a tournament, sometimes with stuff that's not technically painted correctly, like, sometimes you can't get in. And it's like, yeah, it's just not great. It's just not great. So I'm going to make an even lighter blue. Because I want to take this corner to a pretty high, not white, but somewhat close to it. So now you can see the a bit of a blend I've got going on, where it's going darker as it's going down, and this side gets even darker. The top of this I'm kind of struggling with because I'm just like, I can't decide how dark to take it. I mean, the whole thing pretty much is facing the light. So I probably should not take it very dark at all. Like, I'm probably taking it too dark. But then it's just kind of like, so like this side over here, I kind of made the entire thing that really light blue. Oops, that's not on camera. That really light blue. And I kind of wish I had, I mean, of course I can always go back and redo it, but I don't know. I'm trying to decide. What if you go to a tournament with unpainted minis? It depends on the tournament. Some tournaments won't allow it. A lot of tournaments will, because, like, not everyone has the time to paint minis. But some won't allow you to. Or my thing that really drives me crazy about, like, 40K tournaments. And again, I don't play 40K really, and I've never really played in any kind of tournament and have absolutely no interest in it. Jingle with me, baby. This song is great. You have to do something called, you have to follow something called WYSIWYG, which is essentially, you can, in 40K, you can give your armies all sorts of weapons, like guns. But a lot of times they have a rule where if the gun you are saying, like, this dude, like, let's just say, like, this dude ultimately has a hammer, but if I wanted to give him a different weapon, like, let's say this guy could also have an axe, but if the model itself has a hammer, you have to use a hammer. Like, that model isn't allowed. That's what's called WYSIWYG, which means basically whatever's on the model is what you have. And a lot of people will then magnetize their minis, so the arm will have a magnet on it, so they can pop off they can pop off and put on different arms and weapons so that they can use whatever they want in a tournament. And that, to me, is just ridiculous. I'm like, oh gosh. So this dude has a power claw instead of a blaster. Who cares? But they get super into it. And it's one of the many reasons why I've never had any interest in playing 40K on any kind of tournament level. All right, this is getting better. This is getting brighter. Diz, thank you. Money from the Googs. Ooh, what fun. I didn't know Google gave out money. What interesting news. Thank you, Diz. I appreciate you, man. Okay, that's getting better. That's what more I'm looking for. I want this mark to be bright. Instant disqualification. Are you guys going to be at PAX Unplugged this year? Yes, Almost Board Game we are, and Mike and I are actually going to be teaching a mini painting class. So if you're going to be there, make sure to sign up for it. So now I'm just trying to blend this out. So I told you this one was going to be slow today. I warned y'all. Alright, I like that. That's better. That's got a nice, good blend. No, go away. Excuse me, go away. Excuse me. I distributed some to Ambi the other day. Awesome. You have 2 more of those and they expire soon. Well, if you find no one else to give them to, Diz, I'll take them. I'll do that sacrifice just for you. Alrighty. So I like that so far. So now what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing the front panel here because I actually like the top and the top. That looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. So again, so I'm going to do this one kind of like this where it's going to be light and it's going to go probably to really dark down there because I want that contrast. I might not take it quite as dark. We'll see. I'm not entirely sure. I'm trying to get out to PAX Unplugged. Got a free ticket in Jab's couch. Just need to play in Diz, baby. I'd love to see you there, my man. It's a very fun con. I'll let you know that. It is a very fun con. It's a good one. Oh. This song is not great, and I love it. So I'm just kind of cleaning up the excess paint that I don't need. Can I ask you a YouTuber question? Of course, Almost a Board Gamer. So I'm going back, blending that out a little bit, just because that blue went a bit rampant. Now we're going to start taking some darker blue, putting it in there. I don't have much of this blue. I didn't mix enough of it. And I will say about wet palettes, they don't keep your paint. If you don't have very much paint, like this is, I did a very, very thin amount of paint down here. This paint is almost dry because it is, there's just not very much of it. That's okay. I have plenty of this. And sorry, I'm trying not to shake this camera. Ultimately, I would love to have this camera here not attached to the table, but I don't really have that option right now. Are we following what's going on with the COPPA? Oh, right, the serious stuff. Is that the child... the stuff where you have to label your stuff as being for children or not? Whatever it is, we probably should be following it closer, considering I said, oh, what's that? Is that this? think I'm going to make this side of this a little brighter than the back side. So let's take this down. I'm a little worried board games will follow under content for kids. It depends. I mean, it depends on the YouTuber, ultimately, I think, at least in my opinion. Our stuff, we don't label as for kids. Because now we have to signify that on we have to specify that on each one of our videos. It says like, is this video for kids? And we have to say yes or no. So, I mean, it depends. If it's like the Dice Tower, I mean, yeah, I think it is weird. Because it's like the Dice Tower is very much, I wouldn't say it's for kids, but like Tom is very, very serious about keeping the Dice Tower family friendly. But if it's for kids and there's no live chatting and stuff like that on like live videos, and so I don't know. It's gonna be an interesting thing that we're gonna kind of have to see how it plays out. It's like, it's pretty tough. Yeah, I mean, it's something that's definitely, especially if they review kids games, you know, like we don't have kids as far as I know. We do have some younger people who watch us, which is why we keep our content PG-13. But like Mike and I don't really market ourselves as for kids, so for us we would just keep saying no. But like we also, in my opinion, like kids could watch any of our stuff and it wouldn't be a big deal in my opinion. Now granted, like I don't think a kid hearing a swear word every once in a while is like a big deal, but that's my personal opinion on like parenting. But for other channels, you know, particularly someone like the Dice Tower who does review kids games, it's something that I hope they're all thinking about and talking about, especially the big ones, you know, like the Dice Tower or Shut Up and Sit Down or someone big like that, or Rodney, you know, because it's like Rodney, I mean, it's tough though, because it's like none of their stuff is for kids, but like it's kid friendly, and that's where that's the distinction that is a bit confusing to me. Because it specifically says like, at least on as a YouTuber side, it specifically says, is this content for kids? And I'm like, no, but like kids I think could watch our stuff with no real issues, especially if they were over the age of like, you know, 11, 12, you know. Because here's the thing, I'm telling you right now, parents, if you think your kids don't hear swear words, go to an elementary school any day of the week. Your kids hear swear words worse than you've ever heard about 1 billion times a day. But it's like, I get that whole thing, but it's a confusing concept of like, is this for kids or is it kid friendly? And to me, those are two different things. And I don't know enough about it. I fully admit. And like, it's one of the things Mike and I just always mark, no, it's not for kids, because we're like, yeah, because we still keep stuff PG-13. We do swear sometimes. Sometimes we make jokes that are slightly more adult. I don't think like any of our stuff is particularly crass. But then again, I grew up with parents who like didn't really care if we watched R-rated movies. Like to them, they're just like, whatever. Like as long as y'all understand that like violence isn't cool, they didn't really care. And I kind of agree with that parenting style. So it's like, to me, but I am not, you know, again, it said, as far as I know, I don't have kids. So it's like, it's probably not necessarily up to me to make that decision. This panel looks like hot garbage. Just can't figure out where I want to put dark stuff and light stuff. That's actually not too bad. Yeah, all videos, new and old, will be reviewed by COPPA, and there could be fines if they aren't labeled correctly. Yeah, you know, and it's very, very vague. Is considered directed to kids. Yeah, it's like, again, something for kids or something being kid friendly to me are two very different things. Like the Dice Tower is not for kids, but the Dice Tower is crazy family friendly. Like, not crazy as in like Tom is crazy, but it's very, very family friendly. So it's like, but if Tom didn't mark his stuff, if Tom incorrectly marked stuff, he'd get fined for that. And it's like, obviously they haven't met Tom, they don't know Tom, and Tom ultimately is like, Tom has a lot of subscribers, but if you compare him to people who have millions of followers, it's like the Dice Tower really isn't that big in the grand scheme of YouTube. I mean, they're really not that big. All right, so this panel's moving. I will, Almost Board Gamer. Yeah, your kid is a dirtbag. You're right, Dave Phillips. The stuff I hear, my God, man. I mean, I was a kid in school. I understand. I would love to say I was different. Now, to be fair, I don't think I was as mean as a lot of kids that play Tom is crazy. But nonetheless, I was a stupid kid once as well. Kids will be stupid ass kids. It's what they do. Alrighty. Still don't really know how I feel about this one. I feel like I didn't take the light down far enough. This is light. Much better. Thank you, Aziz. Let's lighten up the top of this. So I hope y'all can see like how I'm painting, where I'm constantly going back to my palette, constantly grabbing more paint, constantly then immediately, oh no, wiping that paint off and blending out. This is kind of how I try and do smooth blends. And to be fair, I'm not great at it. This lo-fi Christmas album is cracking me up. The guy was like, oh, mistletoe. I'm like, okay. Okay, friendo. I just realized the blend on my top here was not quite as good as I thought it was. I know I really don't want to see that channel go down. I don't think it will. I think it. I mean, maybe I'm just being optimistic, but like I think it's not going to be as. yeah, I don't think it's going to be as crazy and detrimental. Hey, ooh, mistletoe. Thank you, Tiz. That was my favorite donation ever right there. Oh, mistletoe. Here's the thing. All this music is not royalty free because it's not free. We pay for it. But let's be honest. None of this music is blowing up the charts. If it did, they wouldn't be on Epidemic Sound. Some of the songs are good. Like, the instrumental music is good. The songs in Epidemic Sound are not great. It's alright, almost boring. I get it. It is scary. Yeah, that's why Mike and I just label all our stuff as not for kids, because we're like, in the end, it technically isn't. So it's like, all right. Huh? Oh, was that it? Was that the end of it? I hear no new songs. No. Oh, no, that's not it. Oh, wait, is it? Oh, it is it. Damn it. All right. Well, that was Lo-Fi Christmas Beats. It was great. I love it. Oh, so good. It's got undeniable Christmas vibes. I love it. How good. Oh, mistletoe. All right, now we're going to go back to my favorite album on this site. And that's one called Ocean Beats. All right, so last thing I want to do, I'm going to keep this panel as is. I think I might have made this one too dark. I think I did make it too dark. I can't decide. I do like the blend. Oh, it might be too dark. I'm going to leave it for now. I may come back and redo the whole thing later, but we will see. Load. This computer is so old and slow. I'm honestly astonished I can stream off this computer at all. All right, so now what we're going to do is something called edge highlighting, where if you can see, like, right, don't actually touch it, Nick, right here and right here, and then on the edge of this, you kind of outline everything with a lighter color, and you're supposed to do it. I probably did it a little too big, but nonetheless, you're trying to edge it out, and essentially it separates everything. It just makes everything look nice and clean. So we're going to try and do that. But it's precise, and I hate doing it. But it makes things look really good. Why am I here not start? Well, you have $4 fees, doesn't it? Go. There we go. There. Ooh. Ooh. Thanks, all support. You're all good. Don't worry about it. Sorry, I know it's probably out of focus because I'm really close to the camera. I have to concentrate on this one. can't brace my hands like I usually like to. Getting nervous. I hate when if I can't brace my hands shake even more because I'm nervous. And so, and the problem is if I screw up this edge highlight, make it way too big, then I got to go back and like put more color in and blend it out again, and it just causes such a freaking headache. Okay. Now I need a lighter color for the second half of this because I don't want it to be too bright. Because the edge highlight won't be the same color all the way around. Like the edge highlight on the bottom here is not going to be this really, really light blue because the bottom is basically black. Actually, this is even probably too bright. Let's just go straight Lothern blue. What game is this guy from, by the way? He's from Age of Sigmar by Games Workshop. This is like all water. Gosh. I watered down this paint too much. Oh, I almost swore really hard, really loudly right there. Don't swear, Nick. This is a family show. And this is why I hate edge highlighting, but it makes your thing look super dope. Damn, I was doing so good too. And I did not mix enough paint to my palette because even though despite the fact I'm using a wet palette, it's still drying out on me. Okay. Okay, that's not too bad from the front. Problem is I didn't get much of an edge highlight on this part, so let's go ahead and just throw this in. Alright, that's better. Okay. Bleh. So now I'm just going to take this kind of like mid-tone light blue. I'm going to edge highlight the bottom, and then this panel will be done for today. And again, we are, I don't know, an hour into this, and, you know, we did one panel. I told you this one was going to be very, very slow. I'm really going slow on this one. Down at the bottom of this panel, I can brace my hands as much as I want. And now I'm confidently going into this one. All right. I hate edge highlighting. All right, so that one's done. Except for this one thing I still want to do. This line is too harsh. Falling for you. For you. Okay. Ugh. Jesus, so much work. Okay. All right. We're there. We're getting there. So at this point, I did that panel. We're going to do this panel. We'll see if I get to this panel. I was hoping to do all three today, but this is how slow this project is going, which, again, I'm purposely doing that, but, man, it is taking a while. But I think it's going to be worth it. When it's done, I think it's going to look freaking tight. So we'll see. Okay, I definitely need to mix more paint, though. I did not mix nearly enough. But work you pretty minute. You're not wrong, Quicksand. Quicksand, do you have any questions about anything? I know you're the one who really loves these mini streams, which, thank you, by the way. Sorry, didn't mean to hit the... No questions, because this technique using is way advanced. I'm still at some color to me is better than the gray blob. I think you ain't wrong about that. And yeah, this is, I'm getting, I mean, this is going to be the 27th of these Stormcast Eternal minis I've painted. And David just bought like, God, he just bought like 30 more. Spectre by Bob Ross. I love Bob Ross. Huge Bob Ross fan over here. Yeah, so I'm getting more and more experience. That's too much black. The black ink is incredibly strong. It just goes... You get a little bit, I mean, a teeniest bit, and it just absolutely takes over. Whereas, like, the white ink isn't quite as strong. Oh, I'm making more because I was kind of struggling by the end of that last panel because I was just running out of paint. And my paint was drying out on me. But the thing is, like, going back to the wet palette is like, if I didn't have, your paint can still dry out. The thing is, if I didn't have a wet palette, I would have had to apply these paints just for that 1 hour painting that panel. I would have had to apply these paints probably at least 4 times, at least. So, like, that's why I like wet palettes. And even then, I'm probably not utilizing it to its full degree. I probably could have more water in my sponge, which would keep my paints wetter for longer. But, this blue one leaks. It pisses me off. I get blue all over my hands every damn time. So you probably can't understand me. I'm very annoyed with this blue. Tonight. Shoot, did I do anything? Okay. Yeah, be careful when you close your pot. Sometimes they spritz paint. I have had like a big old glob of pink hit a mini right in the face because I wasn't paying attention. All right, now let's do this part. It's cool to listen to you talk about it and why you're doing a certain thing in a certain way. Okay, I'm glad. Okay. Okay. So now hopefully I have enough blue on my hands to work. That's a tough one, Quicksand, trying to figure out the right colors to get there. I mean, it's a bit of color theory, but yeah, it's just like, the general way that I do it is just like, if you have a blue and you're trying to highlight up to a lighter green, it's like just take your blue and then take whatever you want your final color to be, and just keep adding that to the original tone, and that's the best way to do it. There's probably way more color theory type answers to that issue. But I suck at color theory, which is why most of my drawings are in black and white, because I am not good at color theory. I really, really suck at it. And I don't enjoy doing it, so I don't. I'm going to be right back. I'm going to fill up my coffee again before we start. But yeah, I'll be right back. Mikey texted me. Hi, Mikey. I know I can mix colors, but duplicating the same shade if I need more is not something I'm skilled at. Yeah, you and me both, girl. I'll tell you. I ain't good at that either. Okay, so now we're going to work on this. Okay, I actually do like the way this panel turned out now that I've had a second to not want to hurt myself while doing it. All right. So again, so this one is going to be brightest here. It's going to go down here. It's going to get a little... it's not going to be... It's going to be pretty bright on top, kind of like this panel is, but it's going to get probably around to this same darkness because they're more or less at the same angle. And then this is going to be pretty dark because it's more or less just straight up and down. This I'm probably going to shade kind of like I shade these, where I have it pretty bright on top and really dark at the bottom. Again, even though this kind of shading doesn't really make sense, but I think it looks cool. And that's, in the end, all that matters, girl. Okay. Let's twerk. Let's grab kind of a mid-tone. Let's start. Oh my gosh, it's so much easier to paint this one. I can brace my hand for once. Twerk, twerk, twerk. This might be a situation where my paint is a little too thin. That paint is mega thin. Alright, so I'm gonna try and get a general... Man, yeah, I need to... I got too thin going on, too thin. So I'm just gonna kind of put a base coat down, let it dry, and then come back. Alright, so I'm gonna leave it at that. Let's go ahead. I'm really happy with how this tail turned out. I was very scared of it. But I really think the wet blending turned out good, and I think it looks pretty darn cool. Oh no, oh no. So not as cool as Alice, though. Yeah, I really liked Alice, too. I thought she turned out cool. I'm pumped that you've been painting more Quicksand, though. It's just awesome. I love it. Ugh. This is not... It's not really doing what I wanted to do. And you were totally right. It is a 3D coloring page. It's just way harder to see in the lines. Yes, that is very accurate. It is way harder to stay in the lines. But yeah, it's just a 3D coloring book. I can't remember where I heard that for the first time, but I was like, I'm always referring to it that way. And it's nice. You're like, oh man, like... That's why I always tell people it doesn't take, you know, people are always like, oh, I don't have an artistic bone in my body, which is something I vehemently disagree with on every count. I think, oh no, I just dropped my brush on my freaking paint. I disagree with that. I think everyone is artistic. You may just not be a drawer or a painter or something like that. But even people with no artistic bone in their body, I maintain can mini paint because of the fact that it's just, you don't have to... was going to say you don't have to be creative, but that's the wrong way of thinking about it. You don't have to... The creativity is supported. It's more about decision-making than it is about bringing your own creativity to the table. The creativity will come, but in the beginning, it's just about making a decision. Do I want his armor to be gold? Do I want her armor to be bronze? Do I want it to be... hi, Steve. Do I want it to be pink? You know, it's all you have to do is make decisions. You have like, okay, this area, the dragon thing here. Do I want this dragon thing to be red? Do I want it to be blue? Do I want it to be black? That's all you have to decide. And then you just make good on that decision. And that's all mini painting is. Now, as you get better, then your creativity can start to show through. Then you can really start being like, oh, okay, no. I'm going to do this because it's going to draw my audience's eye to this and all this kind of stuff. You can do all that, but that's stuff you don't need in the beginning. Whereas when you are trying to take like a drawing class, it's harder because the creativity a lot of times is much, much more so on you right out the gate than it is on a beginner mini painter. And then again, if you're going for something like, if you're doing like a board game that has a set color scheme, you don't even have to make any decisions. You're like, oh, this is supposed to be red. Oh, this is supposed to be brown. Like, you know, it's like you don't even have to make decisions. All you have to do is do it. And again, if you're just doing a base coat and a wash, I think anyone can do that. And I'm sorry that I'm just like completely blown out because of my under light here. My other light broke, and so I just have this light up here, which is where this light's coming from, and then I have this light here. So that's all I got. All right, I'll take that crappy blend for now, and I'll go back to working on the top. I'm not really satisfied with the back, but I also can't decide on how dark to make the back of this. I mean, it's really just straight up and down. There's not, I mean, really the whole thing shouldn't be highlighted much at all. That's probably fine, but we'll see. We'll see what I do. Steve, what are you doing? So actually this whole top here is going to have a pretty subtle gradient because it's really not, I mean, it's more or less straight up and down. And the thing is, I can't make this end of this darker than the top of this because then it wouldn't make sense because the more light is going to hit this than is the back. So the darkest I can possibly make the top here is whatever the lightest part of this part is. So I need to be cognizant of that as I'm doing this because my instinct is to take it darker, and I actually, if I want to be somewhat realistic, and again, I'm not shading this in the most realistic way, but if I want to have some sort of realism in terms of the way I'm shading it, I actually can't do that. But I do know, yeah, I'm going to hit this. Place for us to be. Get ready for tomorrow. Mauricio, Dan, and I are meeting at 11. Crook and Jimmy around 1:30. Yeah, I'm going to try and come tomorrow. It depends on what my day is looking like. Mike and I are flying out to Florida at like 8 on Sunday. So I'm having to go out to Ventura tomorrow. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to come. I really want to, but we're gonna have to I'm gonna have to kind of play tomorrow by ear. But I'm gonna try and make it because I want to come play games. Cool. 11 a.m. is this early start for games. How long do you usually play? I don't know, a couple hours usually. Well, it depends. Probably until the evening. Also depends on what we're playing. If we're playing War of the Ring, that's going to be a long one. Sun goes down. The sun goes down. need to step away from this top panel. It's just not working right now. Diz, come to LA, baby. Alright, we're going to go ahead and start on the main panel because the top is not cooperating at all. And so I'm just going to go ahead and start on the other part because I'm just getting frustrated with the top. So let's go ahead and just start down here. So again, so it's going to be similar shading. We're down near the bottom. I'm going to make pretty darn dark. And the top is going to be pretty light. What game is this for? What's up, King Fat? This is for Age of Sigmar. These are the Stormcast Eternals. Age of Sigmar by Games Workshop. They feel good. Looks like a mask with that paper towel. Yeah, you know, it's very blue. It's my own. It's my expression. You know. Feel good. Feel good. All right, Steve, I'll see you later, man. Have a good time. If I don't see you tomorrow, I'm going to try and come out. But if I don't, have a good time with your relatives and Judy's relatives, rather. And please tell Judy we said hello and that we adore her, because we do. She's the best. Alright, that part went okay. Thank God. What kind of brush are you using? This is, I got this on like a, it was like a sale on Amazon. It's called like My Artscape. They're meant for mini painting, but they're honestly not great. I've been wanting to upgrade. The main reason why I got them is because they gave you a big pack of them, and they had a bunch of different sizes. And I was like, oh, this will be nice, because now I have a brush size for everything. But one thing you kind of learn as you paint more is you really only need like 2 brushes. And so I ended up using like 2 or 3 of them. And that's basically it. And so really any small brush does. But I've been wanting to get new ones because I'm kind of over these ones. They don't hold that much paint, and they dry out pretty bad. So been wanting to upgrade. Oh, we on that struggle bus with this top panel still. Man, I am just having a hell of a time blending this one out. I don't know why. I cannot get this thing to look halfway decent. All types of tools are like that. Kitchen knives, automotive tools, the easier to get one good thing at is easy. 100%, yeah. It's like, yeah, get one good one, and then kind of you're like, oh, this would be nice. I'll add that. Oh, this will be nice. I'll add that. Yeah, that's the way to do it right there. Oh no. Blah. Went over the edge like an ass. Oh man, I am just struggling. That's okay, I guess. Why does this panel look like such hot garbage, dude? Looks terrible. I probably should just walk away. I don't think I'm gonna get it any better than this right now. I just can't get... I'll take that. I had to learn the basics of lockpicking for a recent contract. What? Why? go into that. I mean, it's say about a big old kit used by 50% of it. Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's just what happens. Ooh, you should, Cynthia. Sass Queen, you should. We have my little site too. I really want to paint the minis for it. Maybe say away from it. You like the first panel better after coming back to it. That's very true. That's very true. I think I'm gonna. It looks okay. It's just I can't get a good freaking blend on it. But I'm gonna edge highlight it, and then I think that'll make it look a little better. All right, almost board game. We'll see you later, bro. Ugh. Well, that looks like poo-poo. Don't even try to fix that hot garbage, Nick. Don't even try. Ugh, oh my gosh, that one looks bad. Oof, I might have to stop after this one, fam. I was hoping to do the last one, but man, I'm starting to... My ability to paint is starting to deteriorate. This one was going so well, too. You guys, are you guys bringing goofy games to the marathon next week? Not really. We kind of weren't really. You know, we're not really. We might bring a couple things, but nothing like necessarily goofy. We weren't necessarily told not to bring stuff, but it was. We're gonna kind of take the cue from like Tom and stuff in terms of what they want us to play. Not to mention they have a massive game library there, so it's like not like they really need us to bring stuff. There may be something that like, oh, we really want to play this with Tom or Justin, because that's as far as we know right now who we're doing our shift with. This is getting, oh gosh, this panel looked okay, and now I'm working on it again. Why am I doing this? Oh no. So not really anything specific. I mean, honestly, I don't know if we're gonna bring any games. We might not bring any, honestly. What am I doing? Gosh, what am I doing? Just moving too damn fast. I just touched my damn edge highlight. Alright. What's up, Cuckoo? Oh, sorry, Quicksand. I didn't see your question. My apologies. Do you have any suggestions on how to do the eyes? Eyes are the worst. Gosh, eyes suck. Not. I don't have any good suggestions. I would say do what Bert says. Look up tutorials, because it's like the way I do eyes like isn't great, to be completely honest. Basically, what I'll do is I will put in a white, or more likely an off-white, because your eyes aren't completely white. And I'll kind of go and put in like a pupil. And don't worry about it being too big, because you can always take the skin color and shape the white of the eye kind of however you want. So I would say don't fret about making it look super, super perfect in terms of the eye shape when you put the white on. Then I would say take a whatever color you want, and then just be very careful. Their eyes are the worst. I'm sorry to be very morbid about it, but they are. They're not fun, and they're honestly not really easy. Yeah, I'm sorry to kind of bring in a bad tone there, but they're really hard, and I just say that because I'm not good at them. Like, I'm just really not great at them. My gosh, I'm drying out here again. Jesus. Yeah, I did not put enough paint on my wet palette. I'm not put enough water on my wet palette, because it has been drying out of me all damn day. Okay, let's try and blend this out again to make it look like it's okay. Sorry, I'm probably way too close to the camera. And my music is over. Yeah, it's probably a good sign. That's too much paint. Alright, we're going to call that one there. That one looks like crap, but we're going to deal with it for now. Alright, fam, I think I'm going to call it there, because I am painting worse and worse as every second goes by, and I'm starting to get more and more frustrated with myself. So I'm going to call it before I start having a bad time. This I liked when my Batman's their eyes were white. Yeah, honestly, I usually don't paint eyes. I just don't. I should, um, but I don't. Because I hate doing them. I really do. They're not easy, and I feel like they never look as good as I want them to. But I need to start doing it, and I need to get better. That's one thing I like about all these dudes is they don't have eyes. They all have gold helmets on, so they never have eyes. It's great. Thank you, Diz. Yeah, it's rough. It's very difficult. Alrighty, fam. So that is going to be it. We did these two panels. Took us 2 hours. These two panels. This is how slow this piece is going, but I'm okay with it because that's what I want. Overall, I mean, I only really have to do this panel left, and then I'm done with the blue parts. And overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I mean, I've never really done this kind of blending before. I've especially never been this meticulous on a piece before, and it's going pretty well, ultimately, in the grand scheme of things. These ultimately look pretty crappy. That's because I haven't done the other parts. Like, this one will have that gold hammer. This one will have that scroll. So they look kind of crappy, but I like the blends. I like the contrast I'm doing. Again, even if it doesn't necessarily make sense why these are so dark, but I like that contrast. I think it's going to make the mini look interesting, especially against the gold. I think it's going to make those blue parts pop out pretty well. Yeah, I'm okay with it. That's where I am right now. I'm okay with it, and that's as far as we are right now, but that's okay. Like most artists, I hate everything I do. King Fat, I didn't see that. I don't watch South Park, but I did see that little bit. I think it's very cool. Trey Parker from South Park is a huge board game fan. I mean, massive board game fan. Western Legends was an episode of South Park. We met him. I was gonna say we know him. We don't really know him very well. But we've met him, and he was very, very cool. He was at Gen Con, and we have a mutual friend. And we got introduced to him, and he watches us. Apparently, he watches our channel sometimes because he knew who we were, and that was weird. Having Trey Parker know who we were was very surreal. Like, a dude who has had one of the most successful long-running cartoons ever just being like, oh yeah, I know you guys are, man. I watch you Bros Murph all the time. I was just like, Mike and I were just like, oh my God, holy crap. I don't know what to do with that information. And so, and he's gotten to know Tom a little bit, through the same mutual friend. And so it was very, very cool seeing that kind of thing in, it's one of those things, like, unless you know, like, the Dice Tower, that segment meant nothing to anyone, but it was very cool to see these kinds of things, especially, I mean, again, it's not shown up on, in primetime TV, but it's like, that's in a situation where that dude is a massive nerd and loves board games. And so it works out, but he's very, very cool, very, very nice. And we were pumped to have met him, and we've been meaning to hang out with him at some point, because we talked about it when we were chatting with him at Gen Con, and we've just been crazy busy, and don't really know about how to go about that and stuff like that. But it was funny because he was like, when are you guys going home? Because he didn't know we lived in LA. He's like, I didn't know you guys lived in LA. We're like, yeah, dude, of course. I was like, of course we live in LA, man. He's like, oh, that's awesome. He's like, when are you guys going home? And we were like, Sunday. And he was like, oh no, you guys should leave on Saturday. He's like, I have a jet. He's like, you can just come with us home on the jet. We're all leaving on Saturday. And I was just like, I don't think I've ever wanted to do something more in my life than go on a private jet home from a board game convention. But we couldn't just leave Restoration Games. But I was like, we don't need that Restoration Games sponsorship, right? We could just leave and stuff like that. And he was even like, well, if you guys have like a ton of games, you can't bring them all home, let me know before Saturday and I'll put them on the jet and you can come grab them. But I was like, dude, you are way too cool. So we almost got to go on Trey Parker's private jet, and that would have been fun and awesome And we didn't get to do it. We were just like, dude, we should just leave on Saturday. Screw Restoration Games. Oh, it was so ridiculous. It was very nice though. Very, very nice. We really want to see him again. Pee yourself. That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah, you're right, Diz. It's easy to be overcritical in your own work, but that looks really good. Thank you, thank you. Overall, I'm happy with it. This is, I think, going to be the best mini I've ever made. I mean, I think it definitely will. It is. It's just. I mean, I don't like anything I do. That's which most artists are like that. But yeah, it's like if you took any of my pieces, I'm satisfied with them. That's about as far as I can usually get with art. But that's just kind of how it is. And I like that because it pushes me to constantly be better. If you do something, you go, well, that's as good as that could possibly be, then you're never going to push yourself to get better. So, yeah, I hear you, Cuckoo. It's like, yeah, exactly. You get it. It's like, I don't even like watching our board game stuff. I don't like watching metagame minutes with me in them and stuff like that because the whole time I'm just like, I could have said this differently. We could have done this better. I could have been standing over here. It would have looked better. I mean, it's very difficult to, yeah, it's very difficult to, the self-criticism is, Nick and Mike are sick and need to go really weird. Yeah, we both caught bronchitis out of nowhere. There's a great Venn diagram meme that I saw once where it was a Venn diagram. On one side it said like what was it? I can't remember exactly what it said, but it basically said like complete and it was like complete and unwavering ego, and the other side was crippling self-doubt, and where they met it just said artist, and it's like that is so freaking accurate. As an artist, it's like I constantly go back and forth between thinking that I'm the greatest artist that's ever been. Like, I mean, no one has been even close to what I can do. I'm either that or I hate everything I've ever done. It's like it is. There's only two, and that's I feel like very very normal for a lot of artists. That's how it goes. You know, it's like it's just there you go. Yeah, I gotta tone it down for David Phillips. It's just how it goes. You know, it's weird, but it's how it is. But it pushes me to be better. It pushes me to be a better painter. It pushes me to be a better drawer. It pushes me to make our videos better. It pushes me to do everything better, you know. It's yeah. This is art right here. You're not wrong, King Fat. This is art. This is beautiful. It's a blue, it's abstract, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. All right, everybody. I think I'm gonna head out. Thank you for being here for this. This was fun. I've been mostly working on this dude. I haven't been doing mini painting streams. One, because we've been incredibly busy, but also just because I'm like, this dude isn't very fun to watch because I'm painting it so meticulously. And mini painting, when you're painting to this, like you're painting it this slowly and this meticulously, tends to not be as fun to watch. And so I haven't been painting as much, but David just got like 30 new of these dudes, so I got a lot more to paint, and so I'll try and paint more often, and we're gonna start doing video game streams on top of that, because reasons. No, and so it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be great. We're just still trying to get our schedule kind of down pat. What happened to the 3D printer? The 3D printer is still here, Andrew. I just again been very busy and have not had much of a chance to do it. I've been wanting to get back into it. I already know what thing I want to do next. I haven't had time. Yeah, honestly, I haven't had time. The 3D printing segment isn't gone for good. It just had been put on hold. Because it just had gotten put on hold. What's up, Panic Game? Yeah, I think they're called Dracoths. So it's like, yeah, it's like a dragon dog horse thing, I guess. Yeah, and I really wanted I wanted the Dracoth or Dragon Dog. I'm just gonna call it Dragon Dog. I really wanted this Dragon Dog to be pretty dark ultimately because I wanted to contrast with the bright gold armor that it has on and the bright gold armor he has on. So I did it where his haunches and his upper body are much brighter red. One, because it brings your focus into his face, which is where I want you to look on him. I don't want you looking down here at his back left ankle. So this part's a very, very dark red with a bit of edge highlighting, and then you can see on his haunches here and like here it starts getting brighter and brighter, and you get up to his head and it's very, very bright, and that brings you into his head. And so today we are doing these two panels, trying to get some cool contrasted blending going on, and it's taken forever. So yeah. Speaking of 3D printing, you should do one for a replacement marble holder for Potion Explosion. That would be an interesting idea because our marble holder thing is pretty jacked, and so we actually should do that. We should do that a lot. That sounds like a good idea, Quicksand. Alrighty, people, I'm going to head out. Thank you for being here. I love you all. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. Those thumbs up really, really help. Me too, Andrew. I'm looking forward to doing more. Yeah, so have a wonderful rest of your evening, fam. I love you all, and I'll see you very, very soon. Bye.